Look at your aloe right now. Really look at it. If the leaves are thin, floppy, or translucent, that plant is lying to you. It looks alive, it isn't thriving. And the worst part? Most people never figure out why. Because the real reason has nothing to do with watering, sunlight, or soil. It's something happening inside the leaf at a cellular level that almost nobody talks about. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what that is. But I want to start with secret number 5 because it's the one that works while you sleep, costs you nothing, and is the reason your plant is thinner every single morning than it could be. Most people will never use it simply because they don't know it exists. We'll get there, but if you skip ahead, the other 4 secrets won't make sense, so stay with me.
Secret 1. Hydraulic loading. Aloe doesn't just want water, it wants hydraulic pressure. Each leaf is built from thousands of giant parenchyma cells, biological water balloons stacked tightly together. When every one of those cells is filled to maximum capacity, the leaf becomes thick, firm, and dense with gel. That internal pressure has a name, turgor pressure, and it is the single most important physical force determining whether your aloe looks like a plump architectural succulent or a deflated pool toy. When turgor pressure is high, the leaf stands upright, resists bending, and feels almost rubbery when you press it. When it's low, which is where most people's aloe plants live permanently, the leaf droops, wrinkles at the edges, and collapses under the lightest squeeze. Here's where most people go wrong. They water their aloe moderately and consistently, a responsible pour every few days, keeping the soil evenly damp. That approach feels measured. For aloe, it is exactly wrong. Consistent moderate moisture gives you surface-level hydration. The water never penetrates deep enough for the roots to fully absorb it, the cells never fully pressurize, and the leaves never fully inflate.
The fix is deep watering cycles. Water slowly and thoroughly until a steady stream runs from the drainage hole at the bottom. Not a drip, a stream. Then stop completely. Do not water again until the soil has dried to roughly 90% dryness. Then flood it again. That complete cycle, full saturation followed by near complete drought, forces the parenchyma cells to load to maximum capacity every time water becomes available. Always use room temperature water. Cold water shocks the root membranes and can slow absorption by up to 40%. Prove it's working with the squeeze test. Grab a mature leaf at its base and squeeze gently. It should feel like a firm stress ball. Slight give, immediate solid resistance. If it collapses or crinkles, the cells are under-pressurized. Perform 1 deep watering cycle and return in 72 hours. You will feel the difference with your own hands.
Secret 2. The sun stress threshold. Here's something that sounds completely backwards. Controlled stress makes aloe thicker. When aloe is exposed to high-intensity direct sunlight, it produces a pigment called anthocyanin, the reddish, copper-toned color you sometimes see on leaf tips. Most growers see that and panic. They move the plant into shade immediately. That is one of the most common and costly mistakes in aloe care. Anthocyanin is not a distress signal, it's armor. The plant produces it to shield the photosynthetic cells inside the leaf from ultraviolet radiation damage. And producing that shield requires the plant to pump significantly more nutrients and structural compounds into the leaf tissue. More biological investment in the leaf means denser, thicker flesh. The anthocyanin response and the thickening response are the same response. Keep aloe in purely indirect light and you remove the trigger entirely. The plant stays comfortable, has no reason to armor up, and produces pale, elongated, watery leaves with almost no gel density. Give your aloe 3 to 4 hours of direct morning sun daily. Morning sun carries enough UV to trigger anthocyanin production, but significantly less heat than afternoon sun. You get the biological stress benefit without the dehydration risk. Indoors, position it within 12 inches of a south-facing window or run a 6500K grow light for 4 hours daily. Check your progress with the blush check. Look at the tips of your outermost leaves. A faint copper or pink blush means the anthocyanin response is active. Your plant is actively investing in its leaf structure. Uniform, unbroken green across the entire plant means insufficient light stimulus. Adjust position and recheck in 2 weeks.
Secret 3. Mineral pumping. The gel inside an aloe leaf is not just water. It's a dense biological matrix of polysaccharides, amino acids, and minerals with a measurable physical property called specific gravity, essentially how concentrated and dense the gel actually is. The mineral that most directly controls that density is potassium.
Potassium regulates osmotic pressure at the cellular level, telling each cell how much water to pull in and how tightly to hold it. High potassium means dense, viscous, concentrated gel. Low potassium means thin, watery, nearly worthless gel. The mistake is standard fertilizer. Most all-purpose fertilizers are nitrogen-dominant. Nitrogen drives green color and upward growth. It makes the plant taller, not thicker. Feeding nitrogen-heavy fertilizer to an aloe you want to thicken is training the wrong adaptation entirely. The fix costs almost nothing. Banana peel tea. Soak 2 dried banana peels in 1 liter of water for 48 hours. Strain it. Use that liquid as your watering solution once per month. Banana peels are extraordinarily high in bioavailable potassium that aloe roots absorb efficiently. For a more precise alternative, use a bloom phase fertilizer with an NPK ratio of 0-10-10, 0 nitrogen, high potassium, and phosphorus at half the recommended dose every 6 weeks during the growing season. Verify with the snap test. Find a mature outer leaf and snap it firmly at the midpoint. Adequate potassium means it snaps cleanly like a fresh carrot and releases thick, slightly sticky gel immediately. If it bends without snapping or releases thin, watery fluid, potassium is deficient. Run 2 tonic cycles a month apart and retest.
Secret 4. The survival storage response. This is the secret that feels the most wrong until you understand the biology. A slightly cramped root system makes your aloe store significantly more resources in its leaves. When aloe roots feel spatially restricted, not severely root-bound, just snug, the plant activates what horticulturalists call the survival storage response. The root system sends chemical signals upward, indicating that below-ground resource acquisition is becoming limited. In response, the plant shifts its energy allocation. Instead of expanding roots, it begins concentrating carbohydrates, water, and minerals in its leaves as a biological reserve, an insurance policy against future scarcity. Evolution designed this for drought survival. You are going to use it for maximum leaf thickness. The mistake that kills this response is pot size. The moment most people see their aloe looking slightly crowded, they move it into a significantly larger pot. A larger pot signals abundance, plenty of room, no resource limitation. The survival storage response shuts off entirely. Keep your aloe in a pot no more than 1 to 2 inches wider than the root ball. Terracotta is ideal. It's porous, allows excess moisture to evaporate through the walls, and keeps the root zone oxygenated even in a snug container. Only repot when roots are actively escaping the drainage holes and growth has visibly slowed.
Secret 5. The Nighttime Thickness Protocol. Remember at the beginning, the secret that works while you sleep? This is it. Aloe uses a specialized photosynthesis system called CAM, crassulacean acid metabolism. Unlike most plants, aloe keeps its stomata, its leaf pores, completely sealed during the day to prevent water loss. Instead, it opens them exclusively at night, absorbs CO2 in the dark, stores it as organic acids, and then uses that stored CO2 the following day to run photosynthesis with the pores still closed. It's an extraordinarily efficient water conservation system. Here's what nobody tells you. The efficiency of that nighttime CO2 absorption, which directly determines how much raw material the plant has for gel production the next day, is controlled almost entirely by nighttime temperature.